Hello everybody, my name's Mitch here from eFones, and today I want to talk to you about these two devices in front of me, two mobile broadband routers. We've got the B818-263 and we've got its older brother, the B618S-22D, I want to say. So that's been around a bit longer than the 818. The 818 is a newer device that we've just got our hands on. We made a couple of videos on it already, just some unboxing videos, but they're very similar devices, and I just want to talk to you about some of the differences between them. There is a lot of similarities between them as well, so we'll just try and cover most of the spec on them and let you know what is different between the two. So let's first start with the appearance. Just looking at the back of the devices where I am seated, the 618 definitely looks a lot more sort of squarer and boxy, especially on the top where you get the angles are slightly more sharper, whereas the 818, I feel like the corners are a little bit more rounder, do have a little bit more curve to them. Again, I feel like the 818 looks a bit whiter, much more sort of brilliant whiter satin color, whereas putting them together, the 618 to me just looks like it's a shade darker than the 818. Other than that, if we go ahead and look at the front of the devices, looking at the face of the routers, we can see that the 818 has just got the Huawei brand, whereas the older B618 has got the logo included in it. All of your LED status indicators are pretty much the same, both mode, both Wi-Fi, LAN, status, power, and then you've got your reception, mobile reception LEDs on the top. Those all look identical. The WPS button has changed slightly, so again the older 618 has got WPS written on the WPS button, whereas the later 818 has got the Huawei H symbol on it to click for your WPS. Moving on to the back of the devices, there's nothing else on the side of the devices or on the top of the devices, but if you flip them over and we have a look at the back, again very similar. The first thing that stands out to me is this one does have the USB port on it, and then I can see that the power buttons are slightly different in design. Working from the top down, they've both got your two TS9 ports if you wanted to fit an external antenna, and again the text on them is the same. You've got your power buttons. Again, that's this has got the power symbol, the 818, whereas the B618 has got the text. Moving down, the B618 has got the USB option on this router, followed by your two LAN ports and your telephone port and your power port. So pretty much identical, with the exception of that USB on the back. And then if we just go and have a look at the bottom of the devices, so from the bottom of the devices, again you've got all the information you need to log onto the device name, the model number, you've got your IP addresses and your Wi-Fi and admin passwords. Both take the same type of SIM card, which is a micro SIM. Go ahead and open those just to give you comparison. Flick open the SIM card holder. It both takes a micro SIM. It's a push fit, and once you push it in, it clicks into place and stays in place. And then you've got your little pinhole reset buttons just to the right of the micro SIM. The B818's got a little bit more information just before that SIM card slot, whereas the 618 is literally just got a picture of a SIM. So a little bit more detailed explanation there. You know, we do get a lot of queries here, and there are plenty out there of customers who just want confirmation on exactly what type of SIM takes, being a nano, a micro, or a full-size SIM. So this spells it out a bit more clearly on the 818, which helps us out because it explains it to the end user nicely for us. So that is the design difference that I can see on both devices. Very similar. Obviously the one I haven't mentioned is the size of the device as well, B818 being a little bit bigger in dimension than the B618. If we go ahead and compare the specs of both devices, again across most of them very similar. The ones that stand out really are the chipset of the devices. Naturally the B818 has got the later chipset, so the B818 has got the Balong chipset, the B7R65 chipset, whereas the 618 has got the Balong 750 chipset, if I remember correctly. So obviously later chipset, faster processors, quicker processing capability on that. Because of that, our download and upload spec differs significantly. So the B618 you've got a download speed of 600 megabits per second and an upload speed of 100 megabits per second. Again, that's to spec on paper. And then with the 818, it jumps up to the Cat19, which has got the 1600 megabits per second download speed, and it has got the 150 megabits per second upload speed. So big jump in download upload speed capability there. The other big difference that these two devices have is, particularly with this B818 model, which is the B818 263, this model comes with a lot more network band capabilities, which pretty much means you can use it in more places with more networks, if I sort of really had to simplify that. So there's a lot more band capability on this particular spec B18 in comparison to this 618, which has got a much more reduced band options. So that's the other difference these two devices have in comparison with each other. Again, if I mention anything in the video, guys, that you think, well, which bands does this have, please let us know and we'll get back to you with the details of the bands that they do have. The other major difference between the two devices is the antenna design and the antenna spec built within the units. So for those of you who know all about the MIMO specifications, the 618 is a 4x4 MIMO, whereas the B818 is an 8x8 MIMO in terms of antenna design. And it really just refers to how many antennas are sending out and receiving frequencies. I don't want to bore you with the details, but that is another difference in the specification of these two devices. That pretty much covers the major differences between these two devices. Just to sum that up, so it's speed, it's the antenna design within the devices, it's the network band capability of the devices, this being able to have more, and it is the chipset within the devices. Other than that, you saw the differences in the design of the device that we've gone through. Then both devices share a lot of similarities. So both devices can connect up to 64 Wi-Fi users at a time. Both devices have the same Wi-Fi spec to them, so there's no difference in Wi-Fi specification. They're both identical in terms of Wi-Fi spec. Both of the devices are 4G LTE compatible. Going back to what we saw on the back of the devices, both units have those two LAN ports and a telephone port, as well as your power button, your two TS9 ports for external antenna. I don't include any batteries with these devices. Both devices are used with a micro SIM. So there's a lot of similarities between them, and they both look very similar as well. And that is really much it. Just to clarify, for those of you who are considering a 618 or considering a B818, just gives you a little bit more clarity on what the differences are between these two devices. The big one is going to be the speed. It's a newer, later device. It's got a newer chipset in it, and so those download-upload speeds are going to be almost 3 times more than the B618. That's not to say that this is not a good unit. It's got a download speed of 600 megabytes per second. That is still incredible, and up until now, it's still a very good device. But what we've done is a newer, later device, newer technology, quicker technology, and so that just gives this device the edge over the B618. Web browser through the IP address. Both web UIs will be the same. They've got the same VoIP and DNS options to them. You can customize them in the same way, and they can both be operated by the Highlink mobile app as well, if you want to manage them via the mobile app. And that's pretty much it, guys. So like I said, if you've got any questions about what I've spoken to you about today, or anything that you think I may have missed, let us know. It's very interesting for us to find out, and if you want us to try something out or test something out, please let us know. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Take care. I'll catch up later.